Since the very earliest days when there were those who came to visit, it was oftentimes said, we have to take the feet of the Buddha mind and place them in the lotus of the heart. When we do, it's inevitable and inexorable that the Buddha mind will sink down and take its rightful place. We've been exploring the inward and the outward and connectivity. Could it be said that the outward is this Buddha mind, our sensory awareness, our experiences, existence, and the inward, the lotus? But what about connectivity? No doubt you'll remember that story about Mullah Nasruddin when he was on a pilgrimage in a foreign land, and as he was walking down the streets he suddenly had an identity crisis, a panic attack, so to speak. So he immediately dashed into a store on the side of the street, and he said to the proprietor, "Did you see me come into your store?" And the proprietor said, "Yes, I did." And the mullah said, "Well, do you know who I am?" And the proprietor said, "No, I've never seen you before in my life." So the mullah said, "Well, how did you know it was me?" And then there's a story of a scientist who acquired the ability to replicate himself, and with other skills that he'd acquired as a scientist, he came to know that the angel of death was going to come and get him. So he immediately replicated himself into another dozen scientists. And so when the angel of death came, he couldn't tell which was the real scientist. So he had to leave. So the angel of death went back to heaven, but as we know, many angels have taken human form on occasion. So he'd learned a bit of psychological street smarts. So he went down again, and there was the scientist with his 12 other replicas. And so the angel of death said, "Well, I congratulate you on your ability to be able to replicate yourself in this way, but I have discovered a small fault, a very small fault." So immediately the scientist jumped up and said, "What fault? What do you mean a fault?" The angel of death said, "That," and carried him off. And then there's an acolyte who came to one of the Zen masters and said, "Master, I'm confused. The patriarchs say that the Buddha mind is no different from the Buddha nature, and they use those descriptions interchangeably. Master, tell me, what is the difference?" And the master said, "There is only a difference when one is deluded. When one is enlightened, there is no difference." But the acolyte said, but Master, the sutras say that the Buddha mind is impermanent and the Buddha nature is permanent. How then is there a difference? Again, said the master, there's only a difference if we're deluded. Look at it like this. When water turns into ice and becomes solid, we're deluded. But when it becomes water, we're enlightened. How do these three differing anecdotes help us to recognize what is this connectivity? But to be more explicit to each of us, the question is asked, what was it for us that brought about that connection? How was it that the feet of our Buddha-mind was connected to the lotus of our heart, using that metaphor? And more importantly, how can we assist others to make this connection? How was it for us? And how is it that we can make this connection for others? And we can. How was it for you? What happened when the feet of your Buddha mind were connected to the lotus of the heart, so to speak, and you made that journey of the mind taking its rightful place in the lotus of the heart, so-called. And what is it we do? To bring this about for others? Connectivity, inward and the outward.